They mad, right? A lot of them are mad that they don't have that they expected to be providers and they had no food in the pantry. Who took the food out the pantry? Was it your mom? Because it wasn't your mom who took the food out the pantry. It was not your mom. And it's the thing, this is my problem.
Well, all she's trying to do is put food in the pantry.
In the pantry, bro. And that's my problem with the single parent conversation. Because if you sit here,
I started having this conversation about black men and their mother wounds years ago when my own brother was forced to face his own mother wounds. And I also started having the conversation about how the eldest siblings often went through things that the youngest siblings had the privilege of never going through. And so to have these conversations with our youngest siblings is a conversation that is void of their understanding because they never had those experiences. They never lived them. And so I want to talk about this and get into a conversation. So when we start having this conversation, we really have to go back to less than 200 years ago, to the Trail of Tears, and then go back even a little bit further, right? Because when you think about centers and you think about integration and all of that, like, yo, I mean, the ancestors are in an uproar for us repeating history, repeating her story. The Trail of Tears was less than 200 years ago. If you look at most of your parents today, they're in their 70s. Black women specifically, black fathers, they're in their 70s, 60s, 70s. And so if you go 70, 70, 70, this is not so far removed from your history. And so if you don't know what the Trail of Tears is, Google it. It's a pretty vile history. So when we sensationalize things like Black Wall Street, understand the roots of that. And so imagine your granny, and I don't know if you know back then also, but black women were getting married off at age 13, 14. They were having babies at age 12, 13, 14 years old by men who were much older than them. Black men, indigenous men, and men who were not native to them by force. Okay? And so now, okay, because there's some history to this. So when I talk about black men healing those wounds, a lot of people say things like Twitch will be turning over in his grave at the way his wife is treating his family. No, he wouldn't. No, he wouldn't. Because clearly he had some mother wounds. He had some matriarch wounds. And I can tell you that the healing is not for you, black man. I mean, it's not for her, black man. It's for you. It is for you. I want to use my brother as an example. Let's get into it. So me and my brother being the eldest siblings, the things that we went through, our younger siblings did not go through. And by the time you start trying to have a lot of those conversations when your parents are in their 70s, a lot of them are too fragile, even in their 70s, from a trauma perspective, to have those conversations, because that black woman is still thinking about what her granny went through, her great-great-grand went through, who she sat at her feet watching her smoke her pipe while being essayed, while being DV'd by her husband. And so when we talk about the black woman and her story of healing, and a lot of us have done our research to understand that a lot of black men then go and build families, my brother did, with non-melanin women, right? Women who don't look like us, who don't look like him. And so now you're just bleeding all over the place, right? And you're creating families over here and you're creating families over there. And I'm saying some black men, a lot of black men, not all. But they will go on to bleed as well. I remember hearing this when I was younger, that my only job is not to my kids up. That's it. I embraced it. I embraced it so I heal, so I wouldn't create a broken home. And so when we start having this conversation, and I was watching some of what Deontay and Justin were talking about, how so many black men are upset with their mothers. They don't like their mothers because, you know, there was no food in the pantry, right? The lights were off. This was off. That was going on. Yet, where was the father? Because these men who were creating babies with women, they were much older than, a lot of them, for our mothers who were in their 70s. These men who were creating these babies, they went off to make other families. A lot of them went off to the military. You know, they went to places like Korea, right? They went to places like, you know, China. They've gone to other places, a lot of Asian on the globe places where they have married women who don't look like us. So then there's no opportunity to have a mirror. Come on now, a mirror. Black women, we're a mirror for black men. Where you have to look hurt in the face and heal those wounds. And so I wanted to start having this conversation again, because I've been having this conversation for years about black men and their wounds. And if you don't heal those wounds, you will go to your deathbed with regret. I am here to tell you that. If you're conscious, if you're trying to get to the bottom of why you have so many broken relationships, because I can tell you this, if you don't know how to treat a black woman, you're never going to know how to treat another woman. She is the standard. We are the standard. And so that hurt, that trauma wound, that open gushing wound that never healed is like something that got stitched up and patched up just enough for you to go and you know, be this pro NFL player or be this, you know, multi-million-dollar businessman and go off and marry someone who is so far removed from what you went through. Yet you still hang around black men, you still roll with black men, and you don't blame them. You don't blame him for the fact that your mom didn't have food in her pantry, that the utilities were cut off. Where was he? She couldn't call on him to help with the bills. And so then when we start talking about other layers of this, we start talking about child support, we start talking about Section 8, we start talking about all these programs that were designed to continually cause division in the black family. And we start talking about things like the education system where black kids were bused to the burbs instead of the school that they closed that was right around the fucking corner from them. If you don't heal his story by getting to know her story, you can go to your grave with the rage. You can, whatever it is, you control that. But you will bleed over every relationship and family that you try to build until you heal your mother wound.